conducting has been the easiest thing. I don't think I've had to learn anything else apart from how quickly to turn pages whilst conducting, and it's better to turn on the third beat because you're going that way, and then the music with regard to the meter, when it's changing all the time, you've got 2 and 3 and 4 and 7 and 9, and oh wow, that's a little bit of a nightmare. But in terms of expressing the music, it's second nature. It's what I've been doing for 40 years anyway. And so in fact, the loss of the right arm, I don't honestly think has been an impediment. And, I take encouragement from the musicians, some of whom have said, actually, they find it more expressive than when I was carving every beat with the baton as clearly as possible. I am Grant Llewellyn, and I am the former music director here with the Orchestra National de Bretagne. I have been the conductor in residence with the BBC National Orchestra Wales, whom I've conducted every year for the last 40. Hence that connection. I live in Wales. As soon as I was appointed here in Brittany, the collaboration with the Welsh was a no-brainer. It was an obvious opportunity, not just for the orchestras to make contact, but of course we've got everything Celtic in common. And if the further west you go here in Brittany, it becomes a real force. So for me to make the connection between the two orchestras was obvious. And I was thrilled that it was embraced by the orchestra here and the orchestra there. And little by little, it's grown, is crescendo and expanded. Before the pandemic, this is going back 6 or 7 years now, we had already forged a very healthy link. And we'd started to exchange, first of all, ideas, then music, then musicians and soloists and composers, and now the two orchestra, the administration as well, are very close. It's fascinating because every orchestra has its own personality, has, in a sense, its own culture, are more suited to certain repertoire. Obviously in France, we are much more familiar with the French composers. The BBC is renowned not only for its major mainstream standard repertoire, but especially for its ambition and the frequency with which it programs and supports contemporary repertoire and living composers. It's been wonderful to see the cross-fertilization between individual musicians, and now a real friendship. A real friendship, I think, has grown up. We have 2 other concerts besides the evening ones. One is a scolaire for students and what we call the piccolo for families. We take the music apart to some extent and put it back together again. And we introduce them to all the different instruments in the orchestra. If there are some novel instruments, and they can hear the difference between the woodwind and the brass and perhaps the timpani and the various string families. I'm hopeful that we will be able to celebrate this relationship for years to come. There is so much potential. There's so much real repertoire and personnel that we can exchange very fruitfully. So as long as the will is there, it will continue. I have come to recognise here in Brittany so many of the cultural similarities. I am from Tenby in Pembrokeshire, in the southwest of Wales. And if ever you've been to that area of Pembrokeshire, it is absolutely stunningly beautiful coastline. High cliffs, sandy beaches, little coves, big open beaches, sand dunes, island, offshore island. It's magnificent. And so I'm a beach snob. And I came here to Brittany suspecting there'd be competition. And I've been blown away. It's all magnificent. So we've got that in common, at least.